Arabiskt barn- och ungdomslitteratur i dagens Mellanöstern. På scenen kommer vi ha en förläggare, en illustratör, en författare från Jordanien, Palestina och Libanon. Och de berättar varför just de har valt att arbeta just med barnböcker. Please welcome to the stage Mats Kempe, själv författare och bibliotekarie. Det går bli bra om du står här ungefär. Och dina gäster, please welcome to the stage. You will have time to introduce yourself. And this program will be held in English, and afterwards the books will be sold here at my left side and signed. And there will be more Arabic children's and youth literature in the Internationella bibliotekets monter, just over there. So, no more speaking for me. A big hand to this lovely panel, and good luck with your talk.
Thanks a lot. My name is Mats Kempe, and I will host this program. We met yesterday and talked at a seminar, so we decided we'd take off a bit from where we left yesterday. With me here on stage is Taghreed Najjar, who is a writer and a publisher from Jordan. And on her right is Samar Mahfouz Barraj, who is a writer from Lebanon. And at the far end there is Yara Bamieh, who is a writer and illustrator from Palestine. And welcome. Yesterday when we talked, you talked a lot about addressing certain issues in your work, like gender and equality issues. And I would like to start out asking if you think children's literature, is that a good way of addressing social problems and issues? And can literature really make a difference, you think? And whoever wants to start can do that.
Yeah, sure. We can do that through stories, because children love stories. So whenever we want to tell them, or a message we want to address to them, we can start through stories. It would be a nice start. I think it's great. Yes, yeah. They love it. And
yeah, and I think that through children's books you can address social problems in a fun way, that like you get to play with it with pictures, you can play with it with a story, with how you arrange things. So like it gives you a diversity of ways to address these things, and you don't need to importantly like address it directly. Like you can address it through a story that's fun and funny.
Do you think it gives you another freedom to address issues like this than it would have been if you wrote for adults, for instance? Could the children's literature be a way of actually gaining more creativity, freedom for creativity?
I think so, because you can address it from how a child sees things, because they see the world and the problems around them with such like a pure way, without really having names and ideologies, without them, with how they see things. So like you can show it through their eyes, and I think
I think it's children's literature is very important in addressing certain problems, maybe because it gives children different insight into other points of view, basically. So maybe if they come from very conservative outlooks or families, then through books they will see that there are other ways of looking at things. So this is one way. It also opens up to their view, to how other people live, how they think, and how they interact with the world.
I know from our talk yesterday that you also mentioned that there is a discussion about censorship going on, what you can write for children and so on. If you compare that to adult literature, is the pressure on children's literature tougher than it is for adult literature, for instance?
Yes, because I think everybody thinks that they are responsible for children and how they think. And that's the problem. The teachers and the parents think that we should be very careful with the messages we give to children. And so they are the censors. It's not the government. It's the parents and teachers that we have problems with. And the funny thing is what we mentioned yesterday is that in our part of the world, children are bilingual. They study in English, Arabic, and French. So when it comes to reading in English or French, they are given nobody says anything about the books. Everything's accepted. But the censorship is put on Arabic books. Arabic books are looked at with a microscope, and they feel the right to say, you are not supposed to do this, you're not supposed to put this, that's the way it is.
Yeah, so there is like a moral codex that is different from the Arabic literature and from the imported
Yes.
English literature, for instance.
That's true.
Yeah. And Samar.
Yes, I agree with Taghreed, and I think that sometimes adults exaggerate in overprotecting their children. They shouldn't do that, because the children accept things more in a simple way, and they don't. Sometimes they are not affected as in a bad way, as maybe adults would think.
Yeah. And Yara, do you have any thoughts on
Yeah,
this?
I agree with them.
Yeah.
But I also think that kids are very clever when they come to getting messages from everything, from books and from parents. Yes, and they're really good at detecting lies. So when we're trying to create this protective environment, I think that we're underestimating them by thinking that we can affect them so much by a book, because they see everything, and I think they have this cleverness of catching things.
Can I give an example about this? In one of my teen books, and it's for teens, 14 plus, parents still look at the book as though it's for 6-year-old. So I got criticism from one school because in the book the father has a hubble bubble, and the thing is that in every house this is allowed, and they see their parents and their grandparents and all that. I know we shouldn't encourage smoking, but this is a book about reality. This is the way it is. So this is the difference we have.
Yeah.
I had a problem with a book I have. The title is My Mother and Smoking. It's a funny text about a little girl who tries to convince her mother not to smoke. So this book was criticized in many countries. It was considered as a book which might encourage children to smoke. But if they read the text, it's totally different. The mother stops smoking at the end, and the girl helps her. So it's really, weird.
Maybe we should say something about the situation for you working in the Arabic language, because the situation is slightly different from us here in Sweden, because you have one language, one spoken language, which can differ quite a lot from different countries.
Yes.
And then you have the written language, classic Arabic, which is which everyone can read in these countries. So you have both a language, written language, which can be very international, and then you have a spoken language, which is quite, what should I say, limited to the region where you live and the people around you that speak the same way.
And they're a bit different from the other, two different, you may say, languages.
Yeah. Yes. And I was thinking about this, that there is, like, children can read in English a lot of things that they can't read in Arabic. Is that because, you think that is because of this classic Arabic language, written language? Yeah, they try to preserve it so it can work as an international communication.
I think we all agree that the use of classical Arabic is important because children all over the Arab world can read it. But we also feel that we should have the liberty to sometimes use the spoken language. And as the spoken language, this is my personal view, as spoken language, children speak it like 24 hours a day. We should have literature in it also. So it doesn't mean that if we use colloquial in some parts that we are ruining the language. But this is how the educators look at it, and they frown, and we are not allowed to do that.
Now what you are trying to do all authors is to use a simple language when we write the classical Arabic, and use the simple words that are kind of close to the spoken, to the colloquial Arabic. So to make it easier to the child to read. Like to create an intermediate language, a simplified language to use in books.
Almost like you create your own language within the classical Arabic, for the children.
A simple language that children can enjoy and they can read.
Yeah. And Yara?
The children are already like familiar with the classical language. It's not like a thing that they only use in schools, because like children programs, songs, they're all in classic Arabic. And it's common to find like little kids imitating characters while speaking the classical language. And so I think it's not too alienating when we write in classical Arabic, but it's also like when you write, it's like you have to think differently, because like usually we use the local spoken Arabic. So I think it opens ways for experimentation, and but like because classical Arabic unifies all Arabic books, and they all get access to these books, I think like it's a really strong thing.
Yeah, and you are also an illustrator, and you began as an illustrator, Taghreed. Can we say something about pictures? Because we had this discussion slightly earlier that you sometimes feel demands on you that you should be a Palestinian illustrator, not just an illustrator.
Yeah, because through our books, when I grew up, there weren't many illustrators. Arabic illustrators, especially Palestinian illustrators. So when I started drawing, people expected to see something different from a Palestinian illustrator that say from any illustrator from around the world. And I think this is quite restricting, because like you wouldn't expect a Swedish illustrator to always represent Swedish kind of drawings. Like they have the freedom to experiment, and then eventually through their style, you can look back and say, this looks, it can represent something from the culture. But sometimes people want to see this like front layer of a culture, that they want to see the characters looking like Palestinian, their landscape. And for a Palestinian kid, this wouldn't be very interesting. And when I want to draw, I want like the Palestinian kids to have fun with my books. So I think that's my priority, than being. So I'm just an illustrator who's Palestinian.
That's nice. Can I comment on that? Maybe Yara feels that because before, many of the books were translated from foreign languages, and the characters there were mostly blonde and blue-eyed. So children in our area could not relate to them. They would look. So after that, when people started from the culture started writing, they wanted the children to look like the children, and the houses. You know how the houses are different, the streets are different, the policeman wears a different uniform. So I think it started from there, where you want the identity to be apparent in the book.
And of course, I agree with you. Like they should see something similar to their colors, to their looks, and I'm with that, like totally. But my problem is when even we as Arabs start wanting to present ourselves to the others the way they are expecting it, and that's my problem with wanting to represent a Palestinian character.
Samar, do you want to comment on that?
No.
Yeah.
No, I agree with them, but because I'm not an illustrator, but I understand her point of view. Yeah. We face the same problem too. Sometimes I write something, and I'm asked to change it because the other it's different, but in the other countries they might not understand it because it's too Lebanese. Yeah. So we change things so that it becomes appropriate.
Pan-Arab.
Yes, Pan-Arab.
Okay. From my perspective, which is slightly outside, it seems to happen a lot of interesting things in the children's literature in your region at the moment, and very much thanks to you, I would say. But how do you look upon the situation now for children's literature, and in the future? What will happen in that field in the coming years?
I think, if I speak for all of us, I think we're very lucky to be in children's literature at this point in time, because a lot is happening, a lot of change and positive change, and we have many more writers, more publishing houses and illustrators. We still have a long way to go, but I think we're on the right track. We're experimenting. We have publishing houses that experiment with different kinds. Of course, we still have quite didactic literature, but I hope with time that the good literature will be the one that survives.
So you are positive, Taghreed.
Very positive.
Good. And Samar?
I'm very positive too, yes. In the last maybe 15 years, it has developed a lot. Children literature is a kind of booming. We have a lot of people working in the field, and this is really very good and very positive.
Wonderful. And Yara, how do you look upon it?
I think it's interesting, and it's like you have to fight all the time, like trying to create your own style, trying to see yourself as a Palestinian, as Arab, and as an illustrator, especially that since this field is not really common, like we don't have a big background in illustrating. So yeah, everything's changing, it's experimental, there are so many things that you want to try, so it's exciting.
Wonderful.
Just to add
sure,
one
Samar.
thing, for the past few years, publishers started to accept, to approve to change new topics. So this is really good. Before we couldn't write about these topics. So this is positive too.
Wonderful. We look forward for your future work, and we will follow that. So thanks a lot for coming. And I will just say to you in the audience, Yara and Taghreed, they have books in Swedish where you can buy them here and you can get them signed. And all of them, of course, have books in Arabic. And I think you can buy them in Internationella biblioteket Monter, in the stand of the International Library. So if you want them signed, this is a good opportunity. Thank you all for coming and listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I agree with Mats. Passa på att köpa och få böckerna signerade.